Hidden Object Guru here with a guide for the Coast Guard trophy in Hero Defense. First things first, start the level and then die over and over again until you end up with a wave where the first few attackers, here I lucked out with 3 and then 1 red and then 3 more, come through the yellow pathway. This is important because the yellow pathway is a very easy to defend, and it's going to give you a chance to build up your characters before you start have to worry about super dangerous battles with all of the werewolves who... The boss werewolf, and this is not an exaggeration, the boss werewolf who comes in on the green path can lose you a game in under 5 seconds. Like, if you don't immediately take him down, he can lose you the game in 5 seconds. So what you want to do is get all of your characters loaded up. You want to put Jane Doe last. You want to start with somebody in the orb in the top right, and then the second you got a good defense built up there, put Wild at the orb stand on the bottom left. That's where he's going to stay for the vast majority of the game. Okay. Now, as you can see, build up a bunch of guys. I get Jane Doe sitting in the orb, and again, that's where she's going to stay for most of the game. Building up bonus orbs is the only way you can survive and beat this level, as far as I can tell. And you want to have character builds where either they're level 1 or level 2 level ups have a angry mob. You want as many free angry mobs as you can get. So everybody's level 5 infinite reuse should have an angry mob in it. And hopefully your level 1s or level 2s, you get a bunch of angry mobs there as well. So you want to have between 8 and 10 angry mob runes before you start this level and try for this trophy. Because you're just going to want to spam them a bunch whenever werewolves show up. So as you can see, now you got werewolves coming on the red path. The second the werewolf appears, just spawn an angry mob. And if you don't have the orbs for it to do with leveling up, that's why it's so important to have it be early here. So early game, you can spawn a bunch of them. Now the problem here is, most of the werewolves are going to be able to regenerate. So you're actually going to have to use 2 angry mobs, because they're immune from damage just long enough that the angry mob won't kill them. So yeah, you're going to launch 2 angry mobs at basically every wave of werewolves. So with these 2 wiped out, and I go back to fighting guys on the yellow track, and fortunately doing a pretty good job of killing them. I wouldn't say a great job, but an okay job. Now, like, you just follow this strategy for the rest of the level. Level up your guys as much as possible. Use a mob whenever werewolves show up. But here's the key, and it's going to seem weird, but whenever you get 2 werewolves back to back on the same track, this does not count boss waves. Don't do this with boss waves. But up there you can see, right, there are 2 werewolves back to back on the red track. What you want to do is immediately launch both waves at once. So go into pause, go into wave mode, do an early call on the second wave of werewolves. Because as you can see, the werewolves are always going to be regenerating werewolves that come back to life after you've killed them. So the first wave will take out, the first mob, I'm sorry to say, will take out both waves of werewolves, but then like half to 60% of the werewolves will come back to life, and the second wave will finish them off. So we're going to watch how that works out right now. As you can see, I wait until the wave of Igors is really low power and Jane Doe can finish them off, and then I move everybody down here to help out with the werewolves. You always want to have at least your Gravedigger there to help out with the werewolves, because he slows them down with his splash ability. Alright. Yeah, this actually works. I know it takes forever. This is like a 20-minute level, but it does work, and you will win if you do it this way, if you have enough angry mobs. Alright, as you can see, I immediately pause, I go into wave mode, I spawn the second leg of dudes, And I call in my mobs immediately. Alright. Okay, while it's fine for you to use your explosions and your poison to help you with any waves where you're having a little bit of trouble, but you don't necessarily want to use a mob, like, you think you're going to be fine, always use mobs on werewolves. I can't stress that enough. But when you think you're going to be fine, here comes the second mob, but you're a little worried, feel free to use the explosion or the poison. That's what they're there for. Now see, this is really embarrassing because the mobs only killed 3 of the 4 werewolves. So, you know, I found myself in kind of a jam. I do get out of it. I'll be honest with you, I don't remember how. So I'm very intrigued to see whether I just called another mob to deal with this guy. Did a bunch of leveling up. Did I call another mob to deal with this guy? I'm so curious. Yeah, I did. Okay. Because, again, you can't take a chance with letting people cross the river. Now I'm going to show you how to deal with boss enemies who are the worst. Alright, so the problem with boss enemies are they can run through the gate incredibly fast. This guy, if you slow him down, if you just use ice on him, he will not make it to the gate before you can throw 2 mobs at him. And again, just throw 2 mobs at him, it's fine. It's not a waste, you need to do it. He's not the real threat. The real threat is the guy on green. He moves so fast that in under 5 seconds, he will make it from his starting point to the thing that destroys your whole run. He'll get across the river. He'll break right through that barrier, and you're done. And that's 5 seconds at normal speed. That's not hitting the accelerator. He just whips right out. So, and here's how bad it is. He moves so fast that even if you use the Pope on him, if he's even halfway across the river, he'll still end the level before the Pope affects him. So what you want to do is, when the boss on the green line appears, get everything set up, hopefully before he shows up. As you can see here, I did an early call to deal with werewolves and skeletons at the same time. That was actually probably a waste. It would have been smarter to just fight the skeletons, since I know I can kill them, and use that extra time to have Jane Doe and Wild build up a bunch of extra orbs, so I have more mobs to use. But anyway, what's done is done. Now what's nice is once you're fully leveled up, as long as you increased your range with everybody, you can actually provide backup to Wild on the red path. Just by moving your Gravedigger to the long range shrine. And your Bowman and Sam Hain next to him. They should have enough bonus range that they're able to deal with the situation. As you can see here, I move Jane Doe as a backstop, thinking that, okay, well, she can protect. Worst comes to worst, she'll smash someone's head in as they come to the gate. It didn't end up being a problem, but you always have that option. So you move him down here, you move her down here, and you should be fine. So the idea is, you have, if there are 4 bosses, there probably won't be, but I see it happen. If there are 4 bosses, you have, they will be split up, 2 on the red, 2 on the green. So you have 2 freezes for the red path, and you have 2 popes for the green path. And remember, use the pope right before he gets onto the river. Like, right before he steps on the river, pause, use the pope. It's totally worth it. Ugh, regenerating werewolves. You guys are the worst. This, by the way, I figured out this method for beating this level, and it still took me 12 tries to do it. I mean, that's how many times, I think it was 10 times before I realized, no, Hogaru, just restart the level until you get a bunch of yellow guys at the start. Because otherwise I wasn't strong enough to deal with waves. Alright, now you're going to see the green wave, and this is the problem. Get everybody set up immediately. And don't do any early calls to go with it. It's not worth risking your life. Okay, here we go. Wow, I sure took my sweet time, didn't I? So I got the Pope ready. I pause, I unpause, I want to get him right next to the river. As you can see, the mob is already on its way. And the fun part about this guy is you can just send... He doesn't have the come back to life thing that the other werewolves do. So if he's on the green path, I want you to send 2 mobs instantaneously. Just one right on top of the other. Like basically, send a mob, count to 1, send a second mob. Just to be safe. That's how dangerous he is. As you can see, I wiped him out, so it didn't end up being a big problem, but I'm glad I did it nonetheless. And what you see, what you do here, is you just let your second mob finish these guys off. And now, as you can see, we're building up a crazy amount of points. So now we're going to have unlimited mobs for the rest of the level. Boss guys are never that threatening. I mean, they're annoying, but because you can freeze them, you know, they will be slowed down a significant amount. So if you need to call in a mob, you don't have any trouble. Here I got an explosion ready just in case, but I didn't want to use it right away. And then boom, I ended up doing it anyway because his regeneration was so good that I couldn't do enough damage to him to keep him dead. I would have had to have all of my characters right on top of him to do enough damage to kill him. And I wanted to keep the orbs coming in, so I couldn't risk doing that. And then you got a wave of resurrecting werewolves. So just call in a wave of mob, and you know what? All but one of them gets killed. It's great. Just FYI, I leveled up the City Hall to level 15 to have the most powerful possible mobs before doing this level. And now things get, I'd say slightly easier, but not really that much easier. Because this is level 18 through 20. Everybody has crazy amounts of hit points. They got the blood drop, which means they got bonus hit points anyway. Grasshopper means when you hit them, they get a speed burst. So this is actually a pretty sadistic wave of vampiresses. Luckily, it's just one, so you have the advantage of being able to slow her down with your Gravedigger. But even then, I might have used a... I mean, as you can see, I have so many orb points. There's no reason not to use a mob. And I might actually use a mob at this one. I don't remember. I'm pretty sure I do on the Igors next, just to be safe. It's looking like I don't use a mob here. But don't be afraid to. If you've got plenty of extra, because every one of these mobs costs me between 600 and 900. So I got 5 queued up and ready to go. Luckily, with this draw, I only had 3 bosses to deal with instead of 4, which is great. Which means on the last guy, I was able to use both Freeze and Pope, which is great to do on the last wave, because it is the strongest wave of enemies. Boom. Luckily, it was not resurrecting werewolves, so I didn't have a big problem there. As you can see, at some point with this wave, I just get frustrated and decide, yeah, I'm just going to use a mob to kill these guys, and I'll get everybody set up on the other end while I use a mob to kill these guys. Now that it's the last wave, you don't have to leave Wild on the bottom left orb anymore. You can move him up to his station. By the way, I forgot to say at the beginning, you have to turn the bottom left shrine into an orb for this whole plan to work. If it doesn't, you're not going to have enough orbs to accomplish anything. You need the top right and bottom left shrine to be orb shrines, or else it's just not happening. And as you can see, he shows up. I immediately freeze him. And then he's got plenty of time to that gives me plenty of time to wait until I can use the Pope on him. And then just throw 3 mobs at him. There's no reason not to. Yeah, that's what I do. I just throw a ton of mobs at him. But that's the mob killing all of the Igors. It does not, even though another wave has started, they still take the Igor path and do not divert to help you out. So that, it's annoying, but I mean, you had to expect that was coming. Okay. Yeah, I get really scared here, but as you can see, he's taking good damage. Yeah, you can explode him, you can use poison. Whatever you have left, just throw it at this last boss. But you see, he still would have beaten the level if I hadn't... Oh my god, that went great. He still might have beaten the level, but I didn't end up needing to use the Pope on him. I did, but the fact that he got frozen won it. Anyway, I've been the Hidden Object Guru. If you're having trouble with this level, I hope this way too long walkthrough of how I beat it helped. There's guides for a bunch of other trophies elsewhere on the channel. I'll see you back here for more, but until then, au revoir.